Hello, fragrance friends. Welcome back. It is 2021. We made it. And I'm glad that we did so that we can see each other again and talk fragrances. Today I'm doing a tag video that was started by Ruth of Ruth's Gifted Hands here on YouTube. The tag is for us to show our most ruthless fragrances. Please be sure to check out her channel so that you could catch her video as well as some other content creators that are doing this tag. So let's jump into this video. But before we do, hey, you. Yes, you. Who else am I talking to? Are you subscribed? Can you just check down below for me to make sure? Because I want to talk fragrance with you. And we can't do that if you're not subscribed to know when I upload. So I'd love it, love it, love it if you just check and make sure you're subscribed and that notification bell is on, okay? So come on, let's get into these ruthless fragrances. Ruthless fragrances to me, by definition, is just, you know, no concern of others, and these fragrances that I've picked, they are bold and unapologetic. So to start, Viktor and Rolf's Flowebomb Nectar. So Flowebomb, the OG, I think was sort of unique in its time, because before then there was just a lot of fruity florals. But this took floral to a different level, giving it this syrupy sweetness that you just did not pair with as strawberry or anything like that. So then comes the flanker with gunpowder. Brilliant. This is Flowebomb Nectar. It is a very sweet, floral, syrupy fragrance with some depth. It has notes of some white florals, tonka, vanilla, benzoin, and gunpowder. So usually some fragrances will give you incense, and that will give it that kind of smoky depth, but this is pretty unique in that it's using gunpowder. And I just love it. Like, it's thick, it's syrupy, it's sweet, but that the depth it has to it just really makes it a sexy, flirty scent that's unapologetic and ruthless. The next fragrance that I have is Replica's Maison Margiela Jazz Club. Jazz Club is delicious. So this is supposed to be reminiscent of an actual jazz club in New Orleans. And when I first smelled this, like, it took me on a roller coaster, because I started smelling rum and coconut and vanilla, but there was this either violet or iris kind of note that just kind of had me all over the place. So it smelled like to me, it smelled like a gentleman who has been in a little bit of a smoky area. There's tobacco leaf in it, and it's not super smoky, like, oh, you smell like a cigarette, but there's this hint of some kind of tobacco leaf, and this gentleman is drinking a brown liquor. So I find it quite delicious. I think some people prefer it on a man, but this is just one of those scents that's so unique that I had to have it for myself. The next fragrance that I have is Montal's Ristretto Intense Cafe. So this Ristretto Intense Cafe, I think, is a step up from the Intense Cafe. This fragrance is coffee and rose and coffee, with some vanilla musk, caramel, and amber. I'm one of those people that tried Intense Cafe and could not smell the coffee. I am learning that coffee in fragrances sometimes takes a tone of giving it a deeper scent, giving it some depth, but it doesn't hit my nose as coffee like I would if I was to walk into a kitchen that's brewing coffee. So Ristretto Intense Cafe, this came out smelling like coffee, okay? So it was helpful to help me pick up the coffee in Intense Cafe. I still don't smell it that well. Like, I definitely have to smell it against Ristretto, but this one is a powerhouse, just like Roses Musk, just like Intense Cafe, just like Mancera's Roses Vanille. This has your burst of coffee and then it dries down to a, depending on your nose, it could be Intense Cafe, or for me, it's Roses Vanille with a bit more depth. I'm happy with it, even though it dries down to something I'm super familiar with, but it's just definitely that Montal Mancera DNA, and I'm enjoying this because I can actually smell the coffee. It doesn't stick around for long and it's super pronounced, but it's still there, just in the depths and the background, keeping it deep and rosy and musky for you. Black Orchid, the Parfum version. So Black Orchid, ruthless by all accounts, unapologetic, just deep, sassy, mysterious, come hither. Don't come hither if you're afraid. So Black Orchid is amazing. When Black Orchid came out, it was just too much for me. It was instant headache, stomach ache. It was just doing too much. I did have a friend that wore something between Black Orchid and Velvet Orchid, but in the air, it was so intoxicating. But when I tried it for myself, like, I got sick instantly because it was just way too intense. Now, with my nose being a little bit more acclimated to these different spicy types of scents, this Black Orchid to me just reminds me of a spicy rum raisin. And that's probably a funny thing to want to smell like, but it is delicious. Yeah, it's a love-hate kind of thing, but it's just so rich. When I smelled this again and I actually liked it, I could just smell different notes just weaving around each other and just trying to envelop me. It's definitely ruthless, taking names, packing up a body count. Black Orchid is the business. It's gorgeous. In Black Orchid, you do have plum, ylang ylang, rum, Black Orchid, and patchouli. It's gorgeous. The next one on my list is Scandale. Scandale by Night by Jean-Paul Gaultier. I have a little baby one, so my legs in the air are actually tiny, tiny legs dangling at the side. This fragrance, I don't have the original Scandal. I have Scandal by Night. People said the original Scandal was honey. Scandal by Night is more of like a cherry honey. And then when So Scandal came out, which I felt was a complete departure from this lineup, it turns out that it's really not. So now that I smelled So Scandal and I've gotten my nose acclimated to this particular note, this to me is this particular note all the way. And that note is tuberose. So I do get kind of this slight honey, maybe a little cherry, something that comes off as cherry. But essentially, it's, for me now, especially after smelling So Scandal, it is a tuberose fragrance. I know people talk about the thick, syrupy honey. It's tuberose in a different fashion. It's tuberose in a sexier, more modern fashion that I really enjoy. So it's dense, it's thick. It is a little syrupy. If you smell the air, it gets, it's nice. But I think once it's in your skin and that body heat comes up, it gets a bit syrupy. So Scandal by Night does have honey, tuberose. There's a nard oil in this, and that's an oil from honeysuckle. So yeah, those notes to come together, and it's just a gorgeous, like sexier, unapologetic, ruthless tuberose. Tuberose usually comes off a bit more mature to me, but this is a more modern take on tuberose that the average person who likes something like Flowebomb can get into this. The next fragrance is my little Shalamar. Shalimar Souffle de Parfum by Guerlain. So this fragrance, I'm sad. I don't need a bigger bottle, clearly, but the bigger bottle has the tassel on it, and I wanted a bottle with the tassel. But this fragrance is ruthless. It's ruthless because it took this Shalamar DNA that's spicy, that's ambery, and it's not for the faint at heart. So this is one of those fragrances that was recommended as like, oh, it's a lemon cookie. So I tried it out and it was just way too savory, way too spicy, way too Shalamar. I don't even know what the original Shalamar smelled like, but I just knew it was something from ages ago where that trend in perfumes is not what it is now. So I was expecting not to like it anyway. But I said, okay, people keep recommending it. I mean, I'm a perfume lover now. I might like it. So I did not like it. All year long, I hated it until recently. It is an interesting, rich fragrance that it stands on its own and you have to be brave to wear it. I'm not brave enough to wear it yet because I'm still struggling with, I hated it before. It smelled dated and just something that was definitely not my style. It's ruthless. Beware. I have 2 left for a total of 8 perfumes. And while these other fragrances were in no particular order, these last 2 that I'm about to talk about, as well as their Guerlain, that makes the last 3, were probably my most ruthless fragrances in my entire collection. Again, they're beasts, they stand out, they stand on their own. You can't be afraid to wear wear these. So we talked about the Guerlain, Shalimar Souffle Intense. Now, the next one that I'm going to talk about is Olympea Legend. I did a Olympea and its flankers video that I will link. This is so decadent and rich. It is ambery, it is buttery, it has all the depth and richness from a plum. Honestly, guys, this was way too much for me when I first got this. Like, it turned my stomach. I had to scrub it off of me. My stomach was going through some things. I could not stomach this fragrance. I'm trying it again. It's the winter time. My nose is a little different to the point that I even like a fragrance like Shalimar. It smells interesting. It's ambery, some fruitiness to it. Butter, it's just some kind of butter. It's not movie popcorn butter, but it's like a butter that comes off of let's say like chocolate, or it doesn't smell like chocolate. I'm just trying to describe a butter. It has sea salt in it. There's a note of sand, vanilla, tonka, ginger flower. Ginger is in this. You guys, this is so rich and decadent. Like, but you know what? I'm so curious now. Like, I want to try it out. Make it my scent of the day one day and like go outside and wear it. I won't make the mistake in layering any of these, because they're so rich that if you layer it with anything with some fragrance, it's probably going to just go out of control. But that's Olympea Legend Ruthless. It's not called Legend for no reason. Olympea Ruthless Legend. That's what this should be. Dun, 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 dun. This fragrance, even bringing it out to talk about it now. It's just rich, and sometimes I'm brave enough and courageous enough, and just sometimes I'm not. So I got this before I've ever smelled a fragrance with Oud, but this was just what was the talk of the town. It was affordable. It was just flashy in your face. Ruthless again. No regard with this packaging. It is going to bling bling and blind you out. It won't get lost in your collection. But this one is a Jammy Rose and Oud fragrance that is said to be a dupe of Oud Bouquet by Lancome. I smelled Oud Bouquet by Lancome, and it is a chill Oud and Rose fragrance. It is said to be beast mode, but when you're talking about against this, that smelled calm to me. Like, oh, that's nice. Like, that's great. Like, they were inspired by this. But of course, that one's a bit more refined. This one is just, I'm Rose and Oud, you ready? What you trying to do? Like, when I got this, I think it changed the conditions of my nasal passage. I really do, because this shocked me so much. It was way too much for me. You'll even hear people say like, oh, this is a beginner Oud. Do not believe. This is the Oud that people get because it's an affordable one, and it is a good affordable fragrance. However, this is not a beginner Oud. This thing is so strong. Like, it literally broke me in. This is advanced for me, because I still, some days I'm like, yo, this is bomb, and other days I'm like, I don't have the courage to just wear this. It's like it's a lot, people. Anyway, this is my #1 Ruthless fragrance. When I say, it will always be that for me, because I think it really changed my nasal passages. To prime it for other crazy fragrances like this and this, without being too offended, you know? If you have some Ruthless fragrances, let me know. I'd love to hear about them. And I will tag a few people in the description box, because, yeah, I want to know your Ruthless fragrances too, okay? All right. You're subscribed, right? Right? You going to come back and see me? You sure? Because I want to see you. We got to spend time together. All right. Till next video.